undergraduate. Oh, thank you, Susanna, for remembering to record. Today, our topic is undergraduate summer research slash internship opportunities. My name is Ben Garcia. I'm professor and head at the Department of Biochemistry and Molecular Biophysics in the Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis. And today, co-host is Susanna Zakova, who is a professor and chair in the Department of Chemistry and Physics at Barry University in Miami, Florida. And so the format for today's discussion hour will be that I will give, somewhere around a 15 to 20 minute presentation just on some background of, why would you want to do summer research opportunities, what you can expect out of the experience, how to find these experiences, and, how to prepare for the application. I'll have a brief pause at that point to open it up for any questions that people might have. I know some people did, send some questions ahead of time, so I could pull some of those out as well. And then the second half of this hour will be a panel discussion with a few students who have experienced a summer research experience or internship recently. Who will introduce themselves and maybe give a minute or two on their experience for the summer research. And then we'll open it up to more questions that you can ask of the students. And so why do a summer research experience? I think all of you are scientists, probably chemists, and you're interested in science. And what scientists do is engage in original research. And to do that, you have to kind of go beyond your courses, beyond your lab work, and get into a lab and experience that original research, type of experience that is quite different than what you're seeing in courses. And so participating in a summer research experience will give you an opportunity for hands-on summer research. This allows you to kind of apply your classroom knowledge to real-world problems and get the skills development that you're going to need, both technical and soft skills. With technical, you're going to learn a lot more cutting-edge laboratory techniques, work on new instrumentation that maybe you haven't before, learn about data analysis, experimental design, maybe get into like computation or programming. Those are all skills that are going to be valuable for a final position in industry or government, or to move on to graduate school if that's something that you're interested in as well. But then you're also going to learn about working with other people, teamwork, time management, critical thinking skills, becoming an independent scientist as well. This allows you to really think about your career, right? And to see if a life in research is something that you'd want to do. And so you'll get exposure to a lot of different fields, industries potentially, and this might help clarify whether, you want to be at that bench and do original research, or maybe you might want to be in other positions if that might not be exactly what you're thinking is in your future path. Also, a research experience is a great way to gauge if you might want to go to graduate school or not, or even a career in academia. Going to graduate school and getting a master's or PhD are usually research intensive programs. And so a summer research opportunity will give you an idea of what it's like to potentially be a graduate student. These experiences also help you network quite a bit. And so you'll meet a lot of faculty, peers in your field, and start building those relationships. And these could be connections that will give you guidance in the future, mentorship, and maybe also introduce you to other people that could lead to potential new job opportunities in the future. This is really great for your resume as well, as you're applying for graduate schools or positions in industry. Usually employers look really favorably on candidates that have this type of relevant kind of research experience. And, oftentimes one opportunity leads to the other. And so they're usually these things kind of snowball. And so getting involved in summer research may lead to future opportunities as well, even potential job offers. Oftentimes my industry colleagues are calling me and asking if I have any undergrads or graduate students that may be looking for positions right after they finish. So you never know what it could lead to. Building up your CV is a great way also to not just get into graduate school, but apply for more scholarships and fellowships as well, because it shows that you've taken initiative to be a part of research and have that professional experience. And also, I just think for me, it was a great way to improve my confidence. I think I was a good student, but not an amazing student. But getting involved in research really allowed for personal growth. And it was a challenging environment, which allowed me to kind of continue to expand my critical thinking and my different ways I looked at responsibilities, managing projects, and navigating kind of that summer research and professional environment. And so this is me when I was a undergraduate at UC Davis, and this is the professor I worked for, Carlito Labria. So this is the first research experience I ever had. And, to this day, he has been still someone who gives me a lot of advice and mentorship, still kind of champions for me and is my advocate and has helped me along throughout my entire career. And I was very fortunate. I stayed in his lab for about 2.5 years and worked and got my name on a few papers, even was able to write one paper. And so that's also, something that goes on your CV and looks good for graduate school and future type of positions. So what is the research experience like? Well, it typically lasts, the summer. So you're looking at like, 2.5 months, so 8 to 10 weeks. The location could be all kinds of different places. It could be at your home institution if you want to try to stay home. It could be at another university. It could be at a research institution or kind of private organization. It could be in a government lab, or it could be like a classical internship in industry. Normally, you're not going to just get thrown into the internship and just be on your own. You will be working under the guidance of a more experienced scientist. Oftentimes, this could be the professor. It could be a graduate student, a postdoc. That's somebody that already has a PhD that's working in lab, or even a staff member. And many times you're working with them and you're having to get trained, especially if you haven't worked in that area before. So the first few weeks is going to be really kind of just learning all the techniques, learning how to pipette exactly what they need you to pipette, how to use different equipment, do different approaches and methodologies. And if you master those, you might get your own assignment, but oftentimes students will work with a graduate student on one part of their research project as a kind of a helping the bigger picture of the lab's research. Besides the hands-on research, which is I think what everybody is wanting to get, that experience, and that could include experiments. It could include computational aspects if you're interested in developing that type of skill set, and other things. Oftentimes, research experiences will have many other activities that you can be a part of. And so many times they have workshops or seminars that you can hear about other research going on at the university. Oftentimes you might be able to even to present at some of these at the end of the year or at the end of the summer. A lot of professional development type of programs as well for career planning, helping to improve writing skills and learning about how to become a scientist, putting together research presentations, things like that. Oftentimes you'll collaborate with people in the lab. That is a great way to kind of foster, that type of research experience. Industry often doesn't just look at individual skill sets, but how you can contribute to a team. And this is a great way to kind of get that type of experience. You will also get, one-on-one mentoring, at least with your bench mentor, which may be the graduate student or postdoc, but also with the professor as well. You'll meet with them to go over your progress, go over any challenges, problems, troubleshoot things, and kind of think about the next experiments, which will all help you develop as an individual scientist. And then sometimes there'll be other professional development on how to communicate or learning about different career paths and beyond. Usually at the end of the summer, there'll be some type of, big event, culminating event where you may present your research. This could be as a poster session where you make a poster and kind of a lot of people will come to you and ask questions. Possibly it could be an oral presentation as well, maybe even a research paper. But these are all things that scientists have to do. We have to present, we have to write, and sometimes we have to present as posters, sometimes in orally as well. Oftentimes you will write up a little bit of what you're doing, at least for the program, to have that to see what you did. But oftentimes your research could be included in a publication for that lab. And so that could lead to, you getting on a paper as well. One of the benefits of getting into a summer research experience or internship could be financial. And so many times you could end up, getting a salary or stipend to help cover some of your living expenses during the research experience. Sometimes if you're in a program that's well funded, you might get housing or travel, especially if you have to, go to another state to have this research experience. Sometimes you can get credit for like a research unit, and that might help you towards credits for graduation. I will say sometimes, if you can't get into a summer program, that's okay. You can also talk to professors, and a lot of professors look for undergrads for the summer, and they might also be able to pay you something to be able to help cover part of your expenses as well. Other benefits are skills development, as I kind of mentioned, the technical skills in the lab, but your thinking, your problem solving, how do you kind of approach and develop the ability to think of new experiments to prove or disprove, hypotheses and your initial data, or validate the data that you're getting. This is just really great, expertise to get for your, academic and professional growth. As I mentioned before, this is kind of like a sneak peek at grad school, doing kind of research and devoting yourself just to research in the summer. This is a really good prep for grad school. It'll show you if grad school is something that you really want to do or not. And the experience will make you a stronger applicant, because you'll have these new skill sets. You might have research areas now that you're interested in because of the summer that you can write about. And one of the real benefits is of a summer research experience is that you're going to be able to hopefully ask for a letter of recommendation from your mentors, which you will need for scholarships, fellowships, and graduate school applications, and even as reference checks for when you apply for industry positions as well. And so this networking is really important. You're going to meet a lot of people, your bench mentor, your faculty mentor. These are the people that are going to help you in the future, for your career. Yeah, I've already kind of hit this a lot, but I think research experience really allows you to see if there's certain fields, certain areas that you're really interested in for future research, whether you may want to go to graduate school, and maybe that's just a master's or PhD, you're not sure yet. But these are all things that you'll be able to gain some knowledge once you kind of are involved in summer research. And so how to find these summer research opportunities? Well, there's a whole bunch of ways. One, you kind of have to decide what kind of summer opportunity do you want? Is it industry, is it academic, or other? And so if you're wanting to stay at your home institution, many universities offer summer research opportunities. And you might want to check with your department, your academic advisor. Maybe there's an undergraduate research office as well that you can go, talk to and see what opportunities are kind of available. If you're interested in other universities, many universities have summer research programs. I would just, there's so many, but with the internet, you can easily just type in, the university that you're thinking about and summer research program, and you're going to get all kinds of information of what they have. I do have some databases that I'll list here in a little bit that have a lot of information, but easily just going on the internet and doing, spending an hour or two kind of looking at what programs are out there if you're interested in academia. But I would also talk to people as well. Any faculty that you've had in classes, or any types of mentors that you've had of any sort, whether they're advisors or people that you've somehow interacted with. Lots of times you can hear about really great opportunities, especially in industry. If they have colleagues in industry, because these faculty members have a lot of connections. A lot of research connections. They know a lot of people in their field, and they hear and people are talking about these type of things. But yeah, undergraduate research offices are great as well, or any career services kind of offices that might be on your campus, especially for industry internships. I think that's a really great thing as well to check out. If you're interested in working in a national government lab, many of them have programs, summer programs as well. So the National Science Foundation, NSF, has a research experience for undergraduates. You can go to that link, and it's a big database. You can look up all the different places that NSF has funded research experiences for undergraduates. Same with a lot of these other government agencies. National Institute of Health does a lot more biomedical research. And so if you're interested in more biomedical research than chemical, and this could include biochemistry, and it even could include chemistry, but just applied to human health, you want to check out the National Institute of Health. Department of Energy, NASA, all these have summer or research programs that you can check out on the internet and see exactly what they're offering, both at the government agencies, but also they fund programs at other institutions as well. There are some private programs out there too, such as Amgen Scholars, HHMI, and others. And so these are also kind of non-government, nonprofit organizations that are devoted to, at least a part of their mission is devoted to undergraduate research. A lot of other, societies, scientific societies also contribute to undergraduate research or internships. So American Chemical Society, the American Physical Society, and engineering societies as well. These are just some databases, and I'd be happy to make the slides available for everybody, or this recording is going to be made available as well. But a lot of these are huge databases that have a list of a ton of summer undergraduate research opportunities across all kinds of STEM programs. And so, these kind of lists are very broad and list a lot of different ones. This one right here is more for the government programs, this is Intellect. And then there's some that are specific for industry types of kind of traditional internships as well. So what to look for in a program, you want to think about what kinds of research are out there and what you're kind of interested in. Maybe already you're interested in inorganic chemistry or analytical chemistry, so you might want to look at what programs have people involved in those. How many different faculty are in the program, what kind of support do they give you, what kind of hands-on experience, do they have these other types of technical development or professional development activities as well. What does the program structure look like in terms of the number of weeks, intensity, things like that, the other benefits and location. These are things to kind of start thinking about before you really commit to applying to a program. And so before you also apply, you should think about a few things, because you're going to have to fill out this application, and some of these programs are going to ask you these things. What are your near and long-term goals? What kinds of areas of research are you potentially interested in? They might even ask you if there's any specific faculty within their programs that you might like to work at. So you're going to have to do a little bit of homework before you apply to a program. And other things you're going to have to consider is, are you okay living far away from your family for the summer, in another program across the country or something like that? Yeah, for yourself, what are the things you want to get out of? What are the limitations in terms of what you're willing to kind of do to be a part of one of these programs? What are you going to contribute? So when you get to the application, all applications are a little different, but most of them kind of have very similar components. So they have, submit your official or unofficial transcript, your resume, at least one type of personal statement. We'll go over that. Letters of recommendation. Maybe they'll ask you what kinds of research or mentors or projects you might be interested in. There could be other essays as well. How will this help your career goals? How do you see yourself contributing to the community there? Things like that. In very rare cases, they might ask you to write a little bit about the exact research you might want to do. But I think that's a little bit rare, because I think they kind of expect at this level that you're not going to have all the answers of what exact research you're going to want to do. Just some tips for preparing your application. Start early. Many of the applications are either kind of around the beginning of the year. And so it's good that you're here on this call, because you're going to start seeing, calls for applications for these programs. And many of them do have early year deadlines, but they're all different. Some could have, even deadlines right now or in December. So you're going to have to start kind of looking. For every place you apply to, you do have to tailor your application a little bit. You can't just, write the same application for every type of program. You are going to have to look into the program and try to figure out, like, yeah, how do you what research is done there, what faculty, and kind of write a few lines of why you want to go to that specific program. You got to get letters of recommendation. They should be strong and positive. You should be asking someone, can you write me a really good letter of recommendation? Update your CV. Think about yourself, academic strengths. Have a lot of people read your applications and your essays and submit it on time. Sometimes you might have an interview, but many times not. So your CV, it should be all of your relevant academic research experience. Service and volunteer experience is really good as well to list. Basically, any skills and accomplishments that you've gained through your academic training, your education, any jobs or service, and any involvement that you've had with kind of academic professional organizations as well. And of course, if there's any honors or any other accolades, you should list those as well. Personal statement is basically, a portrait of yourself. You should be making a clear and thoughtful picture of who you are. Talking about some of how your previous experiences have shaped you and now put you wanting to learn more about science and research, and how this program was going to lead to that. What research you might be interested in, as well as other things that you think the program should know about you. Are you resilient? What are your strengths? What are some of the experiences that you had previous in your life that speak to the type of person you are, and scientists, and any other significant, academic or personal information. Letters of recommendation, you're going to need at least one, sometimes two. You're going to probably ask people that you've had in courses, or maybe you've had a little bit of research experience, faculty, someone that knows you well enough and can write a strong positive letter. And I actually tell my undergraduates, you should be asking people to write you a strong positive letter, and not just asking for, hey, can you write me a letter? Because maybe they won't be able to write you a strong positive. You want the strongest letter possible. And if they're honest and say, hey, I just don't know you well enough, I can't write you a strong letter, that's okay. Don't feel bad about that. It's better to find someone who can, versus getting a letter that might be a little bit kind of on the weaker side. You can also ask, besides faculty, graduate students, if you had a TA or something like that, high school counselor or teacher that knows you well, that's fine too. Or if you've had even a non-scientific job, your supervisor, boss, anybody you worked for that can speak to your work ethic, and also why you would be a good choice for this summer program. And so lastly, what are programs, internships looking for? And so they're basically not looking for these like amazing scientists that are going to come in and contribute to cutting edge research. I mean, that's great when that happens, but they're looking at your potential. They're looking to see if this program can stimulate growth in you, evolve you as a scientist and independent scientist. And so they're looking at your potential more times than not. What kind of attitude you have and maturity that you're going to make a great team member. They are going to look at your skills and knowledge, but they know that you're not going to have all the skills and knowledge that like a seasoned scientist researcher has. They're really interested in how you've, up to this point in your career, developed your problem solving, critical thinking skills, your communication skills. Can you work independently as well as on a team? Have you persisted through tough things in life? Or what are the tough circumstances that you've been through, And sometimes you fail, but how have you learned from that failure? Attention to detail, how excited and enthusiastic you are, curious you are about science and research. And then also, you shouldn't just be applying these to apply, but how will the program really help you? And so your understanding of the program and its requirements. And so these are all the slides I had. I would like it to open it up if anybody has any questions, essentially about anything here. Some people did send in some questions online when you registered, so I can talk about some of those, but I wanted to open up to maybe about 5 minutes of questions about anything that I presented or anything in general from like the professor faculty point of view before I introduce our panelists and we kind of have that second portion of the presentation. So right now, Susanna and I would be happy to answer any questions. We've had a lot of undergraduates in our labs over the years doing research. So if you'd like, just kind of unmute yourself and go ahead and ask a question if you have one.
Thank you very much, Dr. Garcia.
Yeah.
My mentor, Dr. Nick Riley, sent me this
Oh,
presentation, so it
okay,
was very
great.
useful. I was curious how you would advise to make summer research opportunities productive, since research usually takes so long and there's a knowledge barrier to entry for some of the domains, especially in like glycobiology. How do you make 3 months of research productive?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's tough because you're right. Summers go by fast, and it takes a fair amount of time to get like comfortable in the lab, especially if you haven't worked in that area. And so you might spend the first month just learning the techniques, and by the time you're starting to understand and get things, the summer is going to be gone. And so I would just tell undergrads or tell undergrads that don't look at the summer as like I need to get this done. I need to be productive. I need to do this. It's more about how you're growing as a scientist and how you're contributing. And I think ultimately, the summers are a great time because you don't have courses. You're able to be in the lab. I just would say be in the lab as much as you can, soak in as much as you can, ask all the questions that you possibly can. If someone gives you a protocol and says, "Oh, follow this," and there's anything that you don't understand or something that you just want to understand why you're doing it. Why am I adding this, to this? Or why am I doing this? Or why am I vortexing this? Why do I need to do this? Like, just ask a ton of questions, and just be present in the lab. Go to group meetings as much as you can. You'll learn a lot from the research that's going on there. Most summer students really don't get a lot of great results in the summer because it goes by so fast. But if you can just focus on bettering your skills, bettering your thinking, that's a win. And any results you get, are going to be presentable more than likely in like an undergraduate kind of poster session, things like that. And so in my opinion, that's as like productive as you can be. I think, yeah, unless you have a lot of research experience, it's hard to kind of, step in and be super productive right away. It takes time. So don't feel bad about that. I don't know if Susanna has anything else she wants to
I
kind of
think you
say here.
covered it so well. The only thing I would add is some programs and some PIs, the mentors will email you in advance. They will email you publications to read so you kind of get comfortable with the topics themselves. And if they don't email you, email them. As soon as you know you got accepted into an internship, you're going to be working with this particular faculty, email them, introduce yourself, and ask them, is there anything I can read before I get into your lab? I'm really excited about this opportunity, and I would like to be as ready as possible. But I think, as Ben said it, the summer goes fast, and if you don't get any results, that's it's okay.
Yeah. Anybody else have a question out there? Well, I'm just looking at some of the questions that were, I guess when you registered or when people registered, they asked some questions. A lot of these I'll leave to the panelists. But there is one question I think is kind of really interesting is what are some of the essential skills to become an analytical chemist? That's a really fun question, really good question. I think no matter what part of or subfield within analytical chemistry, analytical chemists have to really be as precise in the measurements of whatever they're doing. If they're using mass spec, if you're using spectroscopy, chromatography, electrochem, you want to be as precise in what you're doing. And so attention to detail, I think, is something that, seems to be a characteristic of an analytical chemist that will really bode well, right? There are some areas of research where you maybe don't have to be as precise because you're doing more qualitative type of research. But in the analytical chemistry field, usually we're asking like how much, all right? What do we have? We're trying to identify something precisely and then how much we have of it or how much that substance has changed from the chemical reaction or state A to state B. And so just having that kind of quantitative precision mind starts with having a real attention to detail of all the protocols, all the methodology, to really understand and think about where things can go wrong. So that's kind of a fun question. I don't know, Susanna, you have any other insights into being an
No, I
analytical
think
chemist?
that's a really good one for us analytical chemists, definitely. And the excitement to learn. That's what we are looking for also when we are choosing our research students. If you're eager to learn, then that's a perfect start for us.
Yeah. Any other questions? If not, I would definitely want to start introducing our panelists. I'm trying to see who is on the call with us. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So yeah, let's kind of transition to the second half of this discussion hour. And so what we've decided to do is bring back some students who had participated in summer research, both academic and industry. And so I'm just going to kind of go down the line of names I have. And if you're here, it'd be great to give your name, a little background, and your experience in a summer program. And then again, we'll just kind of open it up to questions, or I can ask the panelists questions from some of the things that were submitted earlier. And so first on my list, I have Hui Zhu, if I'm pronouncing that right. Sorry if I didn't. Who's a senior scientist with AstraZeneca. I believe, yeah, so he's here.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, maybe if you could introduce yourself and talk a little bit about, maybe your first summer research experience and, some of what you're doing now.
So my name is Hui, and I'm a currently senior scientist in AstraZeneca. Specifically, I'm in the analytical department. So some of my background would be like I did my PhD in NMR, and after that I did 1 year LCMS, and then in AstraZeneca I did both separations, chromatography separation, and also NMR for structure identification and conformational analysis. So in AZ, we also have sponsored the summer intern program, which actually we already start collecting applications, and it will be end on November 14th. But we definitely sponsor those summer intern, and we really welcome to those undergraduate students to join us. As Dr. Garcia said, like some more requirement would be just like we hope you be passionate and curious about doing research, getting those experience. So about my summer intern, actually, when that's back in China, I did my undergrad, start from in sophomore. So we start joining the lab, but that lasts a little bit longer until I graduate. So we actually publish article. Since we do like it's basically 3 years in the lab. But what I want to say is this really helpful. It gives you some idea of what is the hands-on experience of research, and also start training you to be independent research. Also give you some idea of how research look like. So once after you doing some summer intern as an undergraduate student, when you graduate, you know whether you really want to do research or not, as whether that will tell you whether you want to go to graduate school or whether you just wanted to, work in industry immediately. So I think that's very helpful for your career path.
All right, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next, I have Martina Kiwakowska. I thought I saw somebody. Yeah, there's Martina. Yeah, if you could introduce yourself and just give, a couple minutes of your background and research experiences.
Yeah, hi. So I'm Martina. As you can tell, I'm not in the US through my accent. So I did my internship at TRI Princeton, which is a textile research institute. So when you think textile, you think of, like fabrics and stuff, but that's what I had started. But now they do hair research and skin research. So what I did in my internship is I did extracted some lipids from different types of hairs and different treatments of hairs, and see how each treatment affected the amount of lipids, or what different kind of lipids there were in the hair, and what different ethnicities had in lipids. So we tested type 4 hair, Asian hair, or Caucasian hair, both bleached, non-bleached. And during that time, I really learned how to do different analytical techniques, which I didn't do at university. I also learned any extra techniques that the institute themselves used to test different hair products. So in the industry that I'm in right now, when you make, let's say, a conditioner or a shampoo, you want to test if it has a certain combability or it keeps hydration in the hair. So that gave me a lot of background of what I can apply now in my current job. So right now I work as a development chemist at a cosmetic manufacturer in the UK. So a lot of the applications and testing I learned throughout this internship, I can apply when looking at data from suppliers about different ingredients. I can incorporate that into my formulations now. And yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Next, I have Joanna Gongora, who's Washington University. So maybe you can introduce yourself, Joanna.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Joanna. I am currently a first-year PhD student in the Biochemistry, Biophysics, and Structural Biology program at Washington University in St. Louis. I did my undergrad at St. Louis University, where I majored in chemical biology and pharmacology. I did my summer internship the summer between my junior and senior year. I actually did it in the lab of Ben Garcia. During this time, it was about an 8-week-long internship. My bench mentor at the time was a postdoc. I worked mainly with establishing and optimizing biochemistry assay for this post-translational modification that he was studying, also using mass spectrometry to do this. Apart from that, I think my internship incorporated a lot of attending weekly group meetings, department seminars, and also the search program had different workshops that included how to maintain a good lab notebook, how to read a paper. And I think all of these things were really good to give me a bigger idea of how academia is set up, what research interests I had, and overall led me to different opportunities that included being a research tech during my gap year, and then also ultimately coming to WashU for graduate school. I'm really happy to share with you guys my journey. I'm also an international student, so finding internships was really interesting, especially within the United States, and also the process of being able to do that as an international student in the summer has different things that you need to do. Thank you.
Great, thanks. And next, Dara Popat.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I am Zara Popat. And first of all, Ben, it was a great talk. I wish somebody had told me that when I was in my undergraduate research. A little bit about myself, getting inspired from his talk, actually. I've done multiple internships when I was in my undergrad. Currently, I am in India. I work as a claim substantiation manager and product intelligence team in a company called Imami, which is a cosmetic, like we have multiple cosmetics that we develop. My last internship was at TRI, much like Martina. I worked with Dr. Ernesta. She's already given a brief introduction about the company. It is called Textile Research Institute. It is a non-profit organization which not only has analytical chemistry techniques like state-of-the-art facility, but they also have a lot of research programs and have a huge education platform. They have multiple talks. The way I got this internship actually was as suggested in this talk by like reading all the literature. I was extremely interested in hair research. I'm a product developer by trade and a biotech engineer, but I was so interested to get back into analytical chemistry and like understanding what the hair structure is made of, you know, how we can play around with it, how I can get more information, which is why I applied for this internship to see if I could get like a more research oriented role and like switch my job per se. With Dr. Ernesta, I had a chance to work on HPTLC, where we were trying to analyze the different lipids in the hair, like the lipid classes, what is at the highest level, what fatty acid says, highest, lowest, which also helps us develop different products based on that to ensure like there's compatibility. So I think the way to think about it is we could apply the findings that we get out of research and like critically think about it and then apply it to real life. I don't want to except that, I think what was more interesting is to answer somebody's question on the call, how much you can achieve in 3 months, was while I was working on that mainstream projects, there were like multiple projects that were also coming in for us. And while we're running experiments, like, you know, you can still critically think, like if you're interested in research, there were multiple problems that would come. For example, if somebody wants to develop, say, an instrument to dry hair faster, what kind of ions can you use? Can you substantiate a method, like develop a method to substantiate it? If you have like, you know, how do you lose hair? Like how do different ethnicity people lose hair? What is the impact of stress in the follicles? Because I come from a biotechnological background, I was very interested in biological assays, and that was also something that we worked on developing. And like, you know, can you take the supplements route? Can you take the topical route? So it was very interesting to work on various aspects of research while also focusing on the mainstream. And besides that, I think I was also exposed to multiple analytical techniques like DSC, HPTLC, GC. So it was a very insightful experience in terms of technical advancements as well as critical thinking. So I think Tiara is a great place if you're looking for something. Yeah, thank you. Let me know if you have questions.
All right, great. Thank you. And last but not least, we have Kiara Ramirez. Are you there, Kiara? I see your name, but I don't.
Hi, yes, I
Oh,
am
yes.
here.
Sorry.
So sorry.
No
I
problem.
live in California, so I'm getting ready for my day right now.
Okay.
But I'm currently an undergraduate student at the University of California, San Marcos. And I went to the University of North Dakota this previous summer I'm currently a junior between my sophomore and junior year. And I did research with Dr. Kruptova in her analytical chemistry lab. And we did research discussing bee pollen and identifying the chemical characteristics of them. And it was a very insightful experience. I'm still an undergraduate student, so I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do, whether that is the PhD route or the industry route. And so being a part of the RAU helped me learn what I enjoy about being in a lab, and then what other experiences, like this summer I intend to apply for internships to see which of the experiences I prefer more. Thank you. I'm excited to answer any questions.
All right, thanks. And so, yeah, in the, last 12 minutes or so, I want to just open it up to questions for the panelists. So if anybody out there has a question, please unmute yourself and ask away. I think the panelists have a much, a different perspective, just finishing, having gone through fairly recently a summer undergrad experience than faculty. And so I think they will give you a lot more different insights into, things you may be curious about. So please, if you have any questions, yeah, just unmute yourself and ask. I can get us started because there were questions that were kind of submitted ahead of time. So maybe I'll get us started while everybody else is thinking about what they might want to ask. So one question that I think is kind of interesting is, and for the panelists, you can all just unmute yourselves and take turns answering if you want to. Do you feel that your classes had adequately prepared you for the summer internship, or do you feel you had to do a lot of learning on site? So, any of our panelists want to answer?
I can take that. So interesting question. I think the entire point of doing an internship is to see what skills you want to develop. For example, if you're taking a class and you're interested in like a particular subject and you've learned like something about it, it would be very interesting to just go hands-on and like deep dive into the subject, because while we have learned things in theory, it is very difficult for you to understand what's going to happen in the practical world. So I would say my class didn't prepare me for an internship. It gave me the idea that pursuing a particular internship would be interesting. For example, if I've learned about, say, protein analysis and ELISA, now do I know how to do an ELISA? No, I'm going to have to figure out what reagents to use. Why do you do it? Like, how do you apply it in real life? And that is what the internship taught me. And if I was interested, like, in different scenarios, could I use the same technique to like analyze, say, in hair or in the body, or for inflammatory markers and neuroinflammatory markers? So I think it really depends on first figuring out what subject you're interested in, and then looking for the internship that would help you develop the same skills. So like the class gives you the idea and the internship gives you the experience. That's what happened to me.
I think I could probably, sorry.
No, you go.
All right. I could probably give add a little bit more to that. So I think at the time that I did my summer internship, I had taken probably the first unit of biochemistry. So I did have an understanding of like your basic central dogma, how proteins are made. But I think also coming into the internship, it was through that and through reading papers that I definitely learned a lot more, or at least made a better connection between what I was learning in class and what is actually occurring in the research field. But I will add that at the time, I also had taken my biochemistry unit 1 lab, and that's where you kind of learned basic pipetting, some of your different assays, your BCA, ELISA. So I think having that experience also helped me coming into the lab, kind of just orienting myself with what a pipette looks like, or like different reagents, and just these different kind of like things that you need to do or kind of be aware of.
Yeah, did you want to add anything to that?
I was just going to say, as an undergraduate student, currently still, I know that I'm still getting through many of those core classes. And so when I did my research, I did a lot of learning there, since I had barely taken an analytical chemistry course, and I was going into that lab the next semester, and it was in the summer between those 2 semesters. So you do get a lot of learning at whatever research you're doing. Much like with the tech and the pipettes and all of that, like all connecting, like, oh, how do I use this? How do I do that? And it's very informational, even if you do have the background for it.
Yeah, no, definitely a lot of hands-on on the job training. Since I know we probably do have some international students, and Joanna kind of brought this up, there was a question that was submitted earlier that is essentially, what are the extra steps that an international student can take to find and receive a summer internship? So I don't know if any of our panelists who are international, want to comment on anything different that you think an international student has to navigate versus domestic.
I think,
Sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I traveled from the UK to Princeton, so I had to do an extra step of making sure I've got my visa set up, extra communication. So when I got to the US, you got to think about like basic things like a phone, where you're going to stay, currency, just getting used to different environment, different way of life, really. Because for me, as UK, US is not too different, same language, but it's still a different way of life, different kind of environment. People have different ways of thinking. It's just that extra level of you got to get prepared to. There's a bit of discomfort. You might get homesick. It's just got to prepare yourself mentally. Like you're going to be away for 3 months, and just make sure you have a good support system and make sure the company or the university is able to help you and support you in that.
Also, I want to add some aspects to students, like if you're an international student, but you're already in US, in order to find an internship, especially they are sponsored, like paid internship, you need to talk to your university to get OPT and CPT. Those kind of like not a visa, but kind of give you the eligibility to work or like to apply for the
The
summer intern. Yeah.
permission to work, right?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
permission. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's definitely true. And you know, one of the tough spots I think for an international student is if you know, there may be limitations to what programs you might be able to apply to, because some of the programs, if they're funded by the US government, may not allow applicants or consider applicants who are international students. So that's a caveat as well. But you know, there are industry or university-based programs that may not, you know, they might not care if you're international or not. But that is the one thing you have to kind of potentially navigate and see the source of who's funding the internship, and if they have any restrictions on the candidates who can apply.
So I do want to add a little bit to that, Ben. Thank you for bringing that up. Because like I'm also an international student. I was an international student, and when we were applying for internships, there were like clauses where, you know, if you're a visa holder, you're not eligible for a particular job or an internship. Just a small tip, the way to navigate that is you might have limited programs that will accept you, for which you will also have domestic applicants. So the way you could possibly go around is to connect with the job poster, like the internship poster, or like the professor under which you want to work potentially, and express your interest directly, which can probably, you know, show how interested you are, or like your passion behind it, which will give you an edge above other applicants. And on contrary, like if only the legalities are a hurdle, there are a couple of consulting companies that help you go work for a company of your interest through them. Like there's, for the cosmetic industry, I know there's Randstad, or there are a couple of tech companies that actually hire you for them, and then you can work with the institute you're interested in. So if you can navigate challenges like that, I think that is a great resource to look at. You can find a lot of them on LinkedIn, actually, when you do a quick search, like consultancy agencies that can help you get jobs.
Nice. Thank you. Okay, we're quickly running out of time, so maybe the last question, and maybe each panelist can give us an answer. So one question is, what is one of the key things that you took away from your summer experience onwards to your careers or positions now?
I would say my key takeaway is I know first I know how to do research. Secondly is like I get some hands-on experience. I know whether this area I'm interested or not, or I want to switch to different area. Yeah.
I think, sorry, you could go ahead.
Okay. I would say I took away connections. Like I'm still relatively close with my PI and the graduate students that helped me in that lab, and some of the friends that I had made. And although the distance is different, but like I still have those connections that I can rely on when I need it most.
I think for me, it was one, definitely this appreciation for research. I think at the time I knew that I was interested in biochemistry, but I was not necessarily sure what specific area. And I think the internship really gave me that starting point to figuring out exactly where I want to take a space in this field of biochemistry, and also just a general idea of if I wanted to go to grad school or not.
For me, it was all of the above, and also the ability to think, I think, to understand scientific language and then to translate it and break it down to like a very marketing language. It opened up my mind to the different possibilities that I could use to analyze things that I did not think was possible. So like, you can figure things out, and like there's a solution to every problem, which I think is the biggest win, in your life and for your career.
I would say it helped me become more persistent in the way things are done. I won't give up as quickly. Just basically build that motivation. Okay, yes, there's going to be end goals. You can keep going. And it also helped me to realize that where I want to go in the industry. At the beginning, I was like, I didn't know if I wanted to be on the more final product, finished product, or want to be in research. And that really helped me decide where to go. And without that placement, I wouldn't have made a decision I have now.
Yeah, those are all really great points. And so we're at the hour. And so I just wanted to first thank all of our panelists for joining us, giving us really great insights into your experiences with the summer research and how they've kind of helped and shape you now that you're further along in your career. Thanks Susanna as well for all the help with the organization of this discussion hour, and Michelle Kovarik as well, who couldn't make it, but she's the chair of the educational committee as well. Thank all of our participants out there. I hope that this was educational, give you a lot of information and things to think about. We are going to make this recording available, so be on the lookout for that. I'm not exactly, Susanna, do you know exactly where that will be posted?
Yes, we are going to respond to everyone who RSVP'd. And so we are going to provide the recording and then the PowerPoint from Ben. Is that okay, Ben?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So we will provide that.
Okay, great. And yeah, if anybody has any further questions, don't hesitate to reach out to any of us if you could track us down. I think Suzanne and I are probably the easiest to track down. But I hope and wish you guys all the best of luck as you start thinking about summer research and opportunities and applying, and just, best of luck on all of that in your careers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having